there is just light speed, things are moving when it comes to AI automation. What I've seen in the industry is a lot within the AI automation space as well as the analytics space. Those are the kind of two things that I see. But from your experience, I want to kind of dive into what you're thinking, right? So, as far as the demand for AI solutions in the healthcare market today, can you talk about where most of that demand is coming from, what you're hearing?
Sure. From my perspective, I think if you will see the McKinsey ran actually a survey and they find it out that 85% of the companies are either exploring or have implemented generative AI solutions.
Wow.
So which is kind of like where I have not seen any other technology gaining that much of traction and adoption in such a short period of time.
Right.
One thing which Beth actually mentioned that actually clicked also is that in healthcare, we always say that patient is at the center, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some of us may actually may argue that that has never been the case in the past.
Interesting.
And in some of the surveys which we have run, we have actually find it out that for the next 12 months, most of the demand you will see is actually going to come from the patient engagement and provider enablement. And those two things, and some of the small companies which are having AI first motto or really early adopters of AI, they will actually build those solutions which actually organizations um, which are I would say not moving so fast will actually adopt those solutions and bring that in their workflows itself. I will give you an actual example of we have two of our clients who are in pharma genomics area.
Mm-hmm.
And those solutions are actually providing the provider enablement and patient engagement. So what happens is that when a physician, a provider is entering information in Epic or any other EHR, so this solution is actually seeing and listening to that, and then it pops up what other lab test they should actually do. And provider can select me, they can make the decision, and it basically routes to the right lab that solution. And then once the results comes, the another solution which is also built by us for another client takes those results and then it basically provides insights regarding that test itself also. And then also the details which patient can understand. So like I'm not probably like I understand things, but I don't understand as a patient to that detail. So it actually helps not only the provider in selecting what test provider patient should have, but also actually helping patient. So those are the kind of solution, not by one company, sometimes actually through the ecosystem, it is coming together.
Right.
So we will see a lot of partnerships being developed to create an end-to-end value proposition. And I believe that that's from where the demand will come.
And that is a huge benefit in the marketplace. Just to pull on that thread, just a hair, Deepak, because I was lucky enough to be one of the pioneers in the Pharma Genomics area when on the EHR side. That was the biggest problem. So we could say, hey, listen, this patient needs a stent operation. With the stent, you need to look at anticoagulants, obviously, as part of it, which are black label drugs who have evidence. However, there was nothing really built in to say, hey, you want to do this test, right? This pharmacogenomic test to figure out whether or not this biomarker or this genomic marker actually exists, whether or not they can metabolize or sensitivity and all those kinds of things. So you had to build it sort of in an order set. And then when you did that, if you got the results back, I mean, physicians are super smart. Obviously, they're well educated, everything else, but they did not have that kind of education back in back in med school. This is new emerging technology. It's hard to understand how do I then take care of the patient. So you're basically saying to me, we can suggest this without having to hard code this into an order set, number one. Number two, you're saying that this information can come back in a way that is digestible and actionable for the patient, for the physician. And thirdly, which we didn't even get to at that point, which is as a patient, now I can kind of understand exactly what this means and why they did it and what that means going forward. So that is an amazing use case. I'm sorry.
And I would basically add also that, Larry, is that when we think about the AI, I think I would like to say that AI without the industry knowledge and the data, like Beth mentioned, is not helpful. For it to be impactful, it actually has to have the industry knowledge and the data.
Yeah.
And we basically see that there are only the main five things AI actually does for you. Either it is going to increase the revenue, um, either it is going to reduce the cost for you, either it is going to give you a competitive edge, or it might actually help you create a new product and service which you didn't have it before, like Bath created
Right.
a new product. Means they had the service, but now it's a new product. I can see that in that fashion.
Right.
And the last is that how they can actually monetize on the data. And
Yeah.
and one AI use case is not like it is going to do one function. Many times it actually does multiple functions.
Right.
Out as well. So if I will take an example, and I think this was actually one project we worked together also, Larry, with you, is we build actually what we call it Implant IQ. So what it does actually, it takes the MRI specifications and also the implant specifications over the internet, and basically it tells whether the patient is actually safe to go through that MRI or not. And if you think about it, it was taking 5 to 6 hours for a person to go through those 100-page documents to even identify whether this patient is actually safe to go or not. And the solution actually gives that answer and then highlights that hey, this is the color coded line. So the AI transparency guardrails are actually built into it. But at the end of the day, it basically has helped in actually workforce efficiency, which is directly related to the cost itself as well. In my opinion, actually, the patient satisfaction. So
Absolutely.
like you go through the folks who have to travel for 20 miles to actually get that MRI done, and then you find it out that things are actually not right, and then you're going to the other MRI station and things of that nature. I mean, patient satisfaction is huge in that particular case.
Right.
And I will also add one point which I really liked what Beth said, and I will give it a little bit different twist, is that what will happen if everybody has AI? Then where is the competitive edge? And Beth actually answered that question very, very effectively, is that this is the data which is going to make a difference. Means if other organizations want to build the same AI, can they make the same AI? So they have certainly the data scientists. I'm sure that they are like we do data scientists, but the organization has to think about the data. What data do they have? And that's where we basically have to build. Sometimes we go an up and down approach, means what is your strategic bets and how we can actually get those strategic bets. Sometimes we basically look at it, hey, you have this data, and the answer is already there, that what product and services you can actually really leverage, because you have those. In financial world, we basically say you have those options. Why are you not availing those options in a
Right.
way?
Yeah.
Oh,
2 points. I think with the implant, one other benefit of that is really patient safety too, right?
yeah,
So
patient safety.
patient safety is huge. Satisfaction is huge too, but the patient safety factor of that. And number two, I completely believe, love what you said about the data, because you're 100% right. And to Beth's point earlier, if you have 50 years worth of data, true data, non-biased data in that particular area, I mean, who else is going to build a better model than that, right? So.
Yeah. I will just add to that though, Larry, but one thing actually, the life insurance companies, just taking a little bit,
Yeah.
they basically have always said that they have the best data because they have 20, 30 years worth of data about one person itself over the
Right.
period of time. But I think one thing which you will also find that when you're working with this data, the how you will also take into account Gen Z behavior as well. So the folks who are actually um, the norms, what is right, what is wrong, how I behave, on which channel I behave, you will find actually those are the kind of things, the adaptive learning. As what I want to highlight is that data is one thing, but as you will use that model a lot more in the current scenario, you will find that it automatically will adjust to those levers which are actually happening more now. So you don't have to keep on analyzing what's working and what's not working. Some of those feedback will automatically will keep on learning on that, and then start applying those preferences or start suggesting those preferences as well with the time as well.
And that becomes exponential. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
driving results. That's where it really makes a difference.
Right.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the specificity in those personas that you're talking about, using that data to figure out the behaviors by persona characteristics. Deepak's saying is, that could have been done with some heavy lifting before, which you guys have done, but now with the advent of AI, is now you can get much more specific and generational, like that, and behaviorist, and it's amazing. It really is amazing where we're going.
It is.
And your assistant can become expert tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So, any other emerging cases in patient engagement, diagnostics, or care that you want to talk about, or have you today, or did you cover those?
I think there are so many things actually we can talk about, but one of the things which we always love about is that how we can actually work with leading research organizations and what they are actually doing, and how we can actually bring that technology to commercial space, what we learn. So we basically have built the one and only one computer vision based FDA approved algorithm, which actually helps patients when the doctor is actually doing gallbladder surgery, tells where to cut and not cut. So what we are saying is that the computer vision, you take any technology, you will see that it is actually reaching to the next stage in terms of efficiency. Now you think about it in this case itself, we will actually go towards surgery beyond surgeon's eye, in a sense that how I can actually detect that breast cancer from the low resolution ultrasound images, not because of reason, because radiologists can also see, but what is not even visible to radiologists. So it's going to move into those kind of directions.
Wow.
And the another part is like we are part of Carnegie Mellon University Chiron project program as well, where we are basically working in different computer vision algorithms in the battlefield area itself as well. So I think how these technologies will evolve, we have a long way to go in these, and and when we will reach there, I'm sure that there will be another frontier to win as well.
Yeah. But I can tell you, like, being in technology for over 30 years, yes, I'm old, it's exponentially moving quicker than it ever has been,
Yep.
And healthcare has always been a little behind. We know that we're all part of healthcare, a little behind in adopting technology, but that seems to be changing as well, kind of going forward. That's what I'm seeing anyway. And I think a lot of it's got to do with programs like Beth talked about today, use cases that you're talking about, Deepak. It's just like they're seeing results and good results, and when you see that, then people jump on board. And I think that's kind of like where we're going with this.
And Larry, I think a key to that is the competitive edge that Deepak just mentioned. So the competitive edge with this is patient satisfaction. And it's across the entire continuum of care, which includes the back end.
Yep.
So that's what's so exciting about it.
Yeah. And if you look at it from a patient point of view, they don't look at it as we do because we're in it every day. It's not front end, back end, it's their life, right? So it's like, I went in, I got a procedure, now I owe this bill. That's all end to end for them. They look at it and say, they're thinking about the bill before they even get in there most of the time, right? So there's it's just a different point of view. And the funny part is that, I've always thought this is funny. We always talk like there's patients and then there's us, that we are patients too, right? So we all look at through different lenses. We are getting questions in too, so we're going to have a few questions here near the end. But last one for you, Deepak, is like, where Encore's AI model fits in the larger healthcare innovation landscape? Where do you see kind of them, from what you've heard of this new program, what they're doing, as you see the others in the marketplace? Where do you kind of see this new model fitting?
So, Larry, I automated admission to collection process for Beverly Healthcare. So I basically, how patients are coming and then going through the whole service and then collection is coming. I basically see that most organization healthcare systems doesn't have, they want to outsource collection process. And they want to basically outsource that collection process to someone who can actually do better than them. Because first of all, they are not good at it. And if the AI and persona-based things can actually really happen and then help in that process, I think that's a great win for healthcare system, because they will not put the money, in my opinion, to really do that. At the same time, I basically wish, or I would basically say that, like what Beth talked about, propensity of a particular customer to pay, right? There is a possibility, but I don't think healthcare systems will put the money for another 1 year or so. Can they do that check when the admissions are happening as well?
Yeah.
But even if they will do that, can they make decision based on that? And I think that's where will be the key. They probably might not like to say no to a particular person if the propensity has come low. So that goes to the mission as well. So I think this is a very good service, but I think with time, what are the things which probably can happen if you have identified the propensity is actually low for them to be able to pay? They might actually be able to collect some information along the line, which can actually help the process of Encore exchange and others. But I think it is in my experience, this is actually a necessary part at the end of the day, because if you don't get money, how will you service tomorrow as well? You will run out of, and we know many of the Brooklyn and other places, hospitals have a struggle for the same reason. And I see this is actually pretty good in from that perspective.
And on the back end, I think a lot of providers and patients also think that if an account ages without it being unresolved, that's a bad thing. And what we're trying to do is show it can actually be a good thing. There can be lots of reasons why an account went unresolved, and there can be a really positive step at the end of the day to have closure. And I think that's what we're looking for. We want patients to be able to have closure, so they say their entire experience with that healthcare provider was good.
And similar concept, I think you will find, like I was working for a very different concept, but similar concept, but in different context. So like we were working for a lab company. They are doing actually tests. They basically wanted to create the personas and then find it out which pathway is actually going to be happening. So the concept which Beth has talked about is actually we have seen that concept in from admission to collection in different ways happening by or taken by different companies and replicated. How can I basically identify the folks persona who are actually substance abuse? And what can be the pathway for their therapy, for example, as well. So this segmentation and pathways is the way to not only for collection, but also for healthcare outcomes.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to move on because we have wanted to get to questions by 12:45. We're there. So questions coming in for both of you, but let's get Beth back in this conversation as far as the questions. So the program, this is a question we just received, but the program seems amazing, but we already have at least one bad debt collector that we work with. How do we get started with you knowing that we already have somebody on board?
Great question. Thanks for that. And I would say the easiest thing is to recognize hospitals use between 1 and 3 agencies on average. And that's primary, secondary, or tertiary placement. So hospitals are managing multiple contracts. Those contracts are not exclusive contracts, although they might have terms. So I would say the very first thing is just to know, because contracts aren't exclusive, we could be added as an additional service and are happy to work with providers that way. We can be implemented very, very quickly, and that should not impact any current rates or programs that you have in place.
Excellent. How do you divide up that if you have like another agency?
Hospitals are really smart about that because they've been doing it for decades. It's something very easy as an alpha split is one. You could also stagger agencies and do it that way. But our recommendation would be to add us as a challenger, and just to, if you have 2 agencies, put into practice that you have 3 and do an alpha split.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Sounds simple too. So, all right, Deepak, we just got one in from the audience. How do you help companies start their AI enablement journey?
Interesting question. So we basically has been asked this question by many board members, many times PE firms, and the organizations themselves. We created actually one complimentary 1-hour session, which we call it a good to great, transforming business in AI era. So how technology has helped to transform themselves, companies from good to great or straight great. So I think that 1-hour session has 2 executives, has helped what actually can be their path, what steps they should take, and what they should actually avoid. In addition to that, we basically have defined over the years is that our AI enablement approach, which basically has 3 steps: discover and strategize, which concentrate more on actually AI use case identification and prioritization, and then plan and act, which basically about how you can actually implement it. But the third step, which is the most important one, is also adapt and optimize, which specifically talks about how you can actually scale the AI. And in that particular case, we bring in the different SMEs and actually a group of 5 data scientists also. So how we can actually take that AI use case, which has been implemented for one business area, and how we can replicate the same investment in other business areas with the same AI use case, for example.
Right.
And then over the period of time, how the technology will change, how we can actually transform this into a bigger and more effective use case as well. So it's about continuous improvement within the AI use case itself as well.
Excellent. And Beth, let me give you the last question before we wrap up here today. And the question had more to do with back to the give back feature, and they're just wondering, how does that actually work?
So pretty simple math. We'll charge 5.5%. Larry, you kind of mentioned this when you said, so the cost is actually less. We take 10% of our fees, and we will write a check, and that can go directly to the agency, the debt recovery program that the hospital chooses. So when we are implementing, we would actually work with that individual hospital to decide where do they want those designated funds to go. And based upon that, we would get the tax ID and everything else and make sure that those dollars are going directly there. We would provide reports on that. So one has that as well. And there is an accounting of it.
Okay. Is that like a monthly thing, or is that quarterly? How does...
We would do that at the end of every quarter, unless a hospital, unless the practice was easier for the hospital for it to be done monthly. So that can be by hospital's choice, really. I
gotcha. Okay. Well, I wanted to make sure we stay under the hour here, so I'm going to start wrapping up. That's fantastic. We've got a lot of questions from people. If you have additional questions, This is a LinkedIn live event, everybody. So you have Beth's contact information, you have Deepak's contact information, you have my contact information. So feel free to reach out directly to us with any additional questions. We're going to be, like I said, this is being recorded. We'll definitely ship this out to everyone who's participated today and been in attendance, so you can refer back to it, give it to your colleagues, etc. I love today's session. I mean, it was very enlightening when it came to, a brand new program that really cuts costs, increases efficiency, and really helps out our community hospitals that are out there that really need the help when it bring in additional revenue in while actually treating the patients better. I mean, that's fantastic. And Deepak, always great to talk to you. Some of your insights, especially about the scalability of AI, how to get started in AI, and then also some of the use cases that you guys are working on are incredible and impactful, in the industry. So I look forward to doing this again with you guys and continuing the conversation as this continues to evolve. We're going to be doing a lot more in the innovation space, especially when it comes back to, getting revenue in the door for our healthcare partners that are out there. Beth, thank you so much for your time. It's always great to see you. Deepak, always great to work with you as well. Everybody out there, once again, feel free, just reach out to us. We're easily accessible if you have any questions or want to follow up on anything at all. So thank you again for everybody for joining us today.